The man outside. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photograph. Me, standing outside my apartment, looking directly at the camera, and beneath it, tomorrow's date. I sat on the edge of my bed until sunrise. Every light in the apartment was on. I covered the bathroom mirror with a towel, then the bedroom mirror, then the small one near the front door. I even turned the television toward the wall. Anything that could show me my own face, I hid. At 6:17 in the morning, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. One message. Whatever happens today, do not let it see you sleeping. I stared at the words, then typed, "What is it?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, appeared again. Finally, it's what remains when they erase someone incorrectly. I read that sentence twice. Who are they? No answer. I tried calling the number. The call connected. No ringing, no static, just breathing. Then a man's voice whispered, "You don't remember me, Ethan." My stomach tightened. "Who are you?" Silence. Then he said, "My name is Daniel." The name meant nothing to me, but my body reacted before my mind did. My hands started shaking, my chest tightened, and suddenly, I saw something. Not a memory, more like a photograph inside my head. A white room, 3 chairs, me sitting in one, a woman in another, and a man strapped to the third. Daniel. I dropped the phone. The image disappeared. The call ended. Then, someone knocked on my front door. 3 slow knocks. I didn't move. Another 3. I walked toward the door and looked through the peephole. No one was there. Then my phone vibrated. "Daniel, don't open it." I stepped away. Another knock. This time, a voice came from the hallway. My voice. "Ethan?" I stopped breathing. It knocked again. "Ethan, I know you're in there." I backed away from the door. Then I heard something that made my entire body go cold. The thing outside started crying. Not screaming, crying. With my voice. "Please, let me in." I looked down at the photograph from last night and finally noticed something I'd missed. Behind the version of me standing outside the apartment, there was another figure, watching from an upstairs window. I enlarged the image. The figure was blurry, but I recognized the face. My mother. Then, someone whispered directly behind me, "Don't look at the door." I turned around. No one. My phone vibrated again. Daniel had sent an address. Underneath it, one sentence. "If you want your life back, come alone." Then the doorknob behind me slowly began to turn. I didn't use the front door. I climbed out through the bedroom window, onto the fire escape. As I descended, I heard my apartment door open above me. No crash, no forced entry. It simply opened. Then footsteps moved through my apartment, slowly, searching. I never looked back. Daniel's address led me outside the city, an abandoned psychiatric research facility called Blackwood Center. The building had been closed for 11 years. At least, that's what the sign said. But the front door was unlocked. Inside, the electricity was still running. One hallway light flickered at the far end, then another, almost like something was showing me where to go. At the end of the hallway, I found room 217. The moment I saw the number, my head started pounding. I knew this room. I didn't know how, but I knew it. Inside were 3 chairs, exactly like the image I'd seen during Daniel's call. One chair had leather restraints. On the wall, someone had written hundreds of names. Some crossed out, some circled, and near the bottom, I found mine. Ethan Cole. Beside it, subject 13, status, incomplete. My breathing stopped. There was a folder on the table. Inside were photographs of me, sleeping, eating, driving, standing outside my mother's house. Some were 10 years old, some were from last week. Then I found a photograph dated 17 years ago. I was standing beside Daniel and my mother. All three of us were smiling. On the back, someone had written, "Memory separation successful." Then, I heard footsteps behind me. A man stood in the doorway, older, thin. A scar ran across his forehead. I recognized him immediately. Daniel. He looked at me for several seconds, then said, "You really don't remember." "Remember what?" Daniel closed the door and locked it. "Your mother didn't forget you, Ethan." He placed another photograph on the table. My mother was sitting in the same room, terrified. Two men stood behind her. Daniel pointed to one of them. Dr. Warren Cole. I stared at him. "My father?" Daniel nodded. "Your father discovered that traumatic memories could be separated from the mind." He looked toward the mirror on the wall, but he discovered something else. "What?" Daniel's face changed. "When you remove enough memories from a person, sometimes they don't disappear." He pointed toward the mirror. "They remember being you." A sound came from the hallway, my voice. "Daniel?" Daniel's face turned pale. It had followed me. The doorknob moved, slowly. Then my voice spoke again, but this time, it wasn't calling me. It was talking to Daniel. "You should have stayed erased." Daniel pushed a cabinet against the door. "There's another exit." We moved deeper into the facility. As we walked, he told me what happened 17 years ago. My father had called the project Mirror. Not because mirrors caused it, because mirrors were the first place the separated memories learned to imitate their owners. The experiment began with trauma, fear, grief, guilt. Remove the memory, remove the pain. That was the theory. But Subject 13 changed everything. Me. When I was a child, I witnessed something inside Blackwood. Something so horrific. My mother begged my father to remove the memory. He did, but he removed too much. The procedure separated years of memories. Fear, anger, loneliness, pieces of my personality. And somehow, they remain connected, like a second consciousness, watching me, learning me, waiting. What did I see? Daniel stopped walking. He looked at me. "You saw your father kill someone." Silence. "Who?" Daniel looked directly into my eyes. "Himself." I stared at him. Daniel continued. "The man you remember as your father after that night wasn't your father." My skin went cold. Daniel leaned closer. "The first replacement happened 17 years ago." A loud bang echoed through the corridor. Then another, closer this time. Then another. It was getting closer. Daniel grabbed my arm and pulled me into an archive room. Inside were dozens of videotapes. Subject 01, Subject 02, Subject 03, all the way to Subject 13. Daniel inserted my tape into an old television. The screen flickered. Then I appeared. 8 years old, sitting in the same chair. My father stood behind the camera. He asked, "Ethan, who's standing behind me?" Young me started crying. "No one." My father turned around. Nothing was there. Then young me looked toward the observation mirror and screamed, "That's not you!" The footage distorted. For one frame, something appeared behind the glass. My father's face, smiling. But my father was still standing beside me. The video cut to black. Then another recording began. My mother was screaming at the researchers. "You didn't erase it! You gave it somewhere to live!" The tape stopped. Silence. Then, behind us, the archive room mirror cracked. One thin line appeared down the center, then another. Daniel stared at it. His face went pale. "It's here." I looked toward the reflection. Daniel and I were standing side by side, but there was someone between us. Me. Smiling. Daniel grabbed my arm. "Don't react." The reflection stepped closer. I didn't. It tilted its head. I stayed still. Then it leaned toward the glass. Its lips slowly moved. You still don't remember what you did to your mother. And suddenly, every light went out. When the emergency lights came on, Daniel was gone. There was blood on the floor. A trail led toward the basement. I followed it. I shouldn't have, but something inside me knew. The basement was where this began. At the bottom of the stairs, I found another room, and someone was waiting inside. My mother. She looked exhausted, terrified, but when she saw me, she said my name. Ethan. I couldn't move. You remember me. Tears filled her eyes. I never forgot you. Everything inside me collapsed. Then why did you pretend? She looked toward the dark observation window. Because it was watching. She stepped closer. It can't become you just by copying your face. It needs your memories, your relationships, the people who recognize you. Every time someone accepts it as you, it becomes stronger. I remembered her refusing to recognize me. She hadn't rejected me. She had been protecting me. Why didn't you tell me? Her expression changed. Because we've tried before. Before? My mother opened a cabinet. Inside were dozens of phones. All mine. Dozens of wallets. Dozens of driver's licenses. Every one with my photograph. What is this? Her voice trembled. This isn't the first time you've discovered Blackwood. She handed me a notebook. I opened it. My handwriting filled every page, but I didn't remember writing a single word. The first entry was dated 6 years ago. I read, "If I find this again, Daniel is telling the truth." I turned the page. Another entry. Mom remembers everything. Then another. Do not destroy the reflection. It destroys you too. I kept reading until I reached the final entry. The handwriting looked different, messier, almost desperate. If it reaches the photograph, we've already lost. My stomach dropped. What photograph? My mother looked at me. The one from tomorrow, she explained. The photograph wasn't predicting the future. It was a memory from a previous version of this cycle. I had stood outside my apartment before. I had found Blackwood before. I had confronted the thing before. And every time I failed, they erased my memories, hoping the creature would lose them too. But it never did. It remembered every cycle. I remembered none. Then, a scream echoed from the hallway. Daniel's scream. We ran outside. He was standing at the far end, covered in blood. Ethan! He stumbled toward us. My mother suddenly raised a gun. Stop! Daniel froze. It's me. My mother shook her head. No. Daniel looked confused. Then, he smiled. Just slightly. Before Daniel himself seemed to realize, he was smiling. My mother fired. The hallway went silent. Daniel fell. I stared at her. What did you do? Then, footsteps came from the doorway behind us. Slowly, I turned. Daniel stepped out. Alive. He looked at the body on the floor, then at me. His face went pale. It's learning other faces. We ran. Behind us, the thing no longer sounded like me. It sounded like Daniel, my mother, my father. Sometimes, all three at once. Their voices followed us through the corridors, calling my name, begging me to stop. Sometimes laughing, sometimes crying. But we kept running. Daniel led us to the original mirror chamber. At its center was the machine used on me 17 years ago. I stopped at the doorway. My body remembered this place, even if my mind didn't. Daniel looked at the machine, then at me. There is one way to stop it. I stared at him. How? Restore everything. I said nothing. Daniel stepped closer. Every memory they removed, every cycle, every death, every reset. all at once. I looked at the machine. If I remember everything, what happens to it? Daniel looked toward the observation glass. If you remember everything, it won't have anything that belongs only to it. For the first time, I thought this nightmare might actually end. Then my mother grabbed my arm, hard. There's something he isn't telling you. Daniel went silent. I looked at him. What? My mother answered for him. The memories won't just show you what happened. They'll make you the person you were before they removed them. I looked at Daniel. What kind of person was I? Silence. Neither of them answered. Then, the chamber door slammed shut. I spun around, locked. The observation glass slowly darkened, and in the black reflection, someone appeared. Me. My reflection stood on the other side, but something was different. It wasn't smiling. It wasn't angry. For the first time, it looked afraid. Then it spoke aloud. Ethan, don't do this. I approached the glass. You've been trying to take my life. The reflection stared at me, then slowly shook its head. No, I've been trying to give it back. Then something exploded inside my head. Memories. Not one. Hundreds. Flashing faster than I could understand them. My father. The machine. My mother screaming. Daniel restraining me. And me, standing beside the controls. But I wasn't a child. I was an adult. I had returned to Blackwood 6 years ago. And then I remembered. I had restarted the experiments. Not Daniel, not my mother, me. I stumbled backward. No. But the memories kept coming. I remembered the machines turning on, the screaming, the failures, the people who died. I had believed I could destroy the creature. Instead, I made it stronger. And when I finally understood what I'd done, I couldn't live with it. So I made a choice. I ordered Daniel to erase me again. The creature hadn't created the cycle. I had. I turned toward Daniel. You knew, he nodded. You made me promise never to tell you until you were ready. I looked back at the glass. The other me stepped closer. For the first time, there was no hatred in its eyes, only pain. Every terrible thing you couldn't live with. It placed its hand against the glass. You put inside me. And then I understood. It wasn't another person trying to become me. It was everything I had removed from myself. My guilt, my memories, my violence, my fear. It wasn't stealing my face. It was coming home. Suddenly, the machine powered on. The restraints opened, waiting for me. My mother looked at the machine, then at me. Her voice trembled. If you do this, there's no reset afterward. I looked at Daniel, then my mother, then at myself behind the glass. I sat down. The restraints closed around my arms. Daniel moved toward the controls. My heart pounded harder. Then, he activated the machine. The lights began to disappear. The room faded into darkness. And the last thing I saw was my reflection. For the first time, it wasn't smiling. It was crying. That's the first thing I remember. Then, everything. Every erased birthday, every experiment, every scream, every person who died at Blackwood. Every time I discovered the truth. Every time I begged them to erase me again. And finally, the night my father died. I was 8 years old. He stood inside the mirror chamber. There was another version of him behind the glass. He knew the experiment had gone wrong. He tried to destroy the machine, but the reflection convinced him to come closer. My father stepped toward the glass, and then it switched places with him. The man who raised me afterward wasn't my father. He was the first successful copy. My real father had been trapped inside the system for 17 years. and I had spent my entire life trying to forget it. Then another memory returned, one I had buried deeper than all the others. The copy of my father didn't disappear. It became the director of Blackwood. It continued the experiments. More subjects, more erased memories, more reflections. And 6 years ago, I came back. I found him, and I killed him. That's what broke me. Not because I killed a monster, but because, after I did, something happened. For just a few seconds, his face changed. The thing disappeared, and my father looked at me. My real father. Just long enough to say, "I'm sorry." Then he died, and I couldn't live with the memory. So, I erased it. Again, and again, and again. Until I couldn't remember what I was running from. Then suddenly, the machine stopped. Silence. I opened my eyes. Daniel was standing beside me. My mother was crying. And across the room was a mirror. For the first time, I wasn't afraid to look at it. I stared directly into the glass. My reflection looked back. I slowly raised my hand. It raised its hand. I smiled. It smiled. At exactly the same time. Then, the glass began to crack. One line, then another, then hundreds. But I wasn't afraid, because I finally understood. The thing wasn't trapped inside anymore, because there was no thing. There was only me. Every memory, every mistake, every piece, whole again. Then alarms began screaming. Blackwood was collapsing. The restored memories had destabilized the system. Lights exploded in the corridor. Daniel shouted, "We have to go!" We ran, through the chamber, through the burning corridors, toward the main entrance. Daniel made it outside. My mother made it outside. I was almost there when... "Ethan." I stopped. A child's voice, behind me. Slowly, I turned around. At the end of the hallway stood an 8-year-old boy. Me. 8-year-old me stood at the end of the hallway. I knew he wasn't real. Just one final memory. But he looked terrified, just like I had been, all those years ago. Are we going to forget again? I looked at him. No. He lowered his eyes. Even the bad things? I stared at the child I used to be, the child who had spent his whole life running from memories he couldn't understand. Especially those. The child looked at me. Then he smiled. Not before me, not after me, with me. And for the first time, I smiled back. Then he disappeared. The building shook violently. I turned and ran. I made it outside. Seconds later, Blackwood burned. The windows exploded. The roof collapsed. And the place that had stolen 17 years of my life disappeared into the flames. 3 months passed. No strange messages, no missing memories, no reflections moving on their own. My mother knew who I was, and Daniel disappeared. He left one note, just one sentence. Some memories deserve to hurt. That's how you know they're yours. I moved away, changed apartments, started over. Not another reset. A real beginning. For the first time in years, I slept without covering the mirrors. And for a while, I thought it was over. Until one night, at 3:13 a.m., my phone vibrated. Unknown number. One photograph. My bedroom. Taken from the corner of the room. I was asleep in the photograph. I sat up immediately. The room was empty. I checked the door. Locked. The windows. Closed. Then I looked at the photograph again. At the timestamp. Tomorrow. My hands started shaking. A second message arrived. But this time, it wasn't addressed to me. Subject 14 is ready. Then I heard something from the bedroom mirror. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks. From the other side of the glass. I stared at my reflection. It stared back. Neither of us smiled. Then, something moved behind it. Someone stepped into view. A little girl. I'd never seen her before. She stood behind my reflection. On the other side of the mirror, she looked terrified. She slowly raised one hand and pressed it against the inside of the glass. Then her lips moved. "Please, don't let them erase me." My phone screen suddenly turned black. For 1 second, I saw my reflection in it. And behind me, the little girl was standing, inside my room. I turned around. Nothing. No girl, no sound, just darkness. I slowly looked back at the phone. The screen came alive. One final sentence was waiting. Subject 13, complete. And underneath it, begin subject 14. That was when I finally understood. Blackwood wasn't the experiment. I was. And whatever started there had never needed the building. It never needed the machines. It never needed Blackwood. It only needed someone to forget. And somewhere, behind another mirror, a little girl had just started remembering. The end.